to be honest with you before I start. I almost didn't record this, not because I was scared of how it would sound, because I wasn't sure, I'm still not sure, whether the thing sitting at this desk saying these words is the right person to be telling this story. That's not a metaphor, just hold on to that. I'll come back to it. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that 4 days ago, I found a missing persons report filed about me. The date on the form was 3 days in the future. I'm going to say that again slowly because when I first read it, I had to. Someone filed a missing persons report about me, and the date on that form, the official, time-stamped, database-logged filing date, was 72 hours after the moment I was standing there reading it. I printed it out. It's on my kitchen table right now. 8 pages. My name at the top, my photo, the one from my work ID, the one where I look slightly to the left of the camera because I never know where to look. The small scar above my left eyebrow. I got it when I was 9. A car door swung back into my face in a grocery store parking lot. I remember the sound it made more than the pain. Whoever filled out this form knew about the scar. They knew which eyebrow. They knew I got it as a child. That detail is not on any document I've ever filed publicly. It's not on my license. It's not online. It's the kind of thing you'd only know if someone who actually knew me told you. Or if you were me. I need to go back 3 days before I found the report. Before any of this made sense as a pattern rather than just noise. My sister called me twice on a Tuesday. I missed the first call at 2:14 in the afternoon. I was in a meeting that ran long and I silenced it without thinking. The second call came at 6:47 p.m. I saw it. I was tired. I told myself I'd call back after dinner and then I didn't because I was tired and because she never leaves voicemails and because I assumed it was nothing. I texted her at 9:30. "Sorry, crazy day. What's up?" She didn't reply. I put my phone face down on the nightstand and went to sleep. That was the first thing. The second, my building's front desk called my work phone at 10:20 the following morning. Not my cell, my work number, the one printed on business cards I stopped handing out 3 years ago. The woman on the line was professional and calm. She asked if I was still a resident. I said yes, of course. She said they hadn't seen me come through the lobby recently and were just checking in. I told her I'd been working from home. She said, "Of course, thank you. Sorry for the interruption," and hung up. I sat with the phone in my hand for a moment after she disconnected. Then I put it down and went back to work. Third, that afternoon, my manager forwarded me an email from HR. The subject line of the original email was Welfare Check Protocols, Updated Internal Guidelines. He forwarded it with no message, just his own subject line over top, "Thought you should see this." Nothing else. I read the email. It was procedural, dry. I couldn't tell why he'd sent it. I replied with thanks and got no response. 3 things, spread across 2 days, each one individually forgettable. I forgot them. 4 days ago, 8:43 a.m. I was cutting through the parking garage at work, level 2, near the elevator bank where one of the fluorescent lights has been dying for about 6 months. It doesn't flicker, it just dims and then comes back, dims and comes back, like it's breathing. I've walked under it 100 times. A colleague stopped me. I want to be specific. This is someone I have spoken to maybe 4 times. We've never had lunch, we've never talked about anything personal. He knows my name and my department, and that's roughly where our relationship ends. He stepped in front of me and stopped walking, and he looked at me. Not at my face exactly, more like at the space I was occupying. Like he was checking that the outline matched something he expected. He said, "I'm really glad you're okay." I said, "What?" He said he'd heard something. He wouldn't say what. His eyes did this thing where they went to my face and then away and then back, like he was trying to reconcile two different images. He walked away faster than was polite. I stood under the breathing light for a while, and the three things came back to me all at once. My sister's unanswered texts, the front desk and my work number, the HR email sitting unopened in my manager's sent folder. I went back to my car and I started making calls. By noon, I'd found the report. Public records search. The kind that's free, the kind anyone can run. It's meant for court documents, property records, that sort of thing. The report appeared on the fourth search I ran, under a pre-filing category, forms submitted before the official 48-hour window opens, for cases where family members have strong cause for immediate concern. The filing date was March 14th. I was sitting in my car in the parking garage, and the date on my phone said March 11th. I read it 3 times. I checked my phone's date, I checked my laptop, I checked the timestamp on an email I'd received that morning. March 11th, March 11th, March 11th. March 14th on the form. I printed it in the office and walked out without telling anyone where I was going. I drove to the police station 4 blocks from my apartment. I'd never been inside it before. I didn't even know what it looked like. And I put the printout on the front desk and I said, "Someone filed a missing persons report about me and it's dated 3 days from now. I need to understand what that means." The officer looked at the printout. She looked at it for what felt like longer than it should have taken to read 8 pages. And then she looked at me, and she asked me to confirm my name, my date of birth, and my current address. I did. She typed. The sound of the keyboard was very loud in the room. She said, "There's no record in our system of this report." I held up the paper. I said, "It's right here." She said, "I understand. I'm telling you what our system shows." Her face had not changed once during the entire conversation. Not when she looked at the form, not when she looked at me, not when she said something that should have been objectively an alarming thing to say. I drove home. I ate something standing over the sink at 2 p.m. I don't remember what it was. I remember the light in the kitchen was doing something strange. Not flickering, just slightly too yellow, like the bulb was getting ready to go. I kept meaning to look at it directly and kept not doing it. I tried to work. I couldn't. I kept coming back to the comment field at the bottom of the form. Subject does not appear to be aware of the situation. Not the report, not the concern, not the inquiry. The situation. There is already a defined thing happening. It already has a shape. People around me already know what to call it. They are already in their own ways responding to it. And the only person not included in that conversation is me. I went back upstairs and sat at my kitchen table and made a list because I needed to see it in one place. 1. A missing persons report dated 3 days in the future. 2. My sister about to file a form she hasn't submitted, a form that already exists in a public database. 3. My car, witnessed missing from a lot I never left. 4. A front desk that found my work number to ask if I still lived here. 5. A colleague who looked at me like he was checking that I matched an outline he remembered. 6. An officer whose face didn't move when she told me my documented proof didn't exist. I sat with the list. I looked at it for a long time. Then I went to bed and lay there in the dark and stared at the ceiling and thought about the phrase, the situation, until my alarm went off at 6:15. The next morning at 7:04, I went to get my mail. My upstairs neighbor was in the hallway. We have lived 30 feet apart for 2 years. We have spoken maybe 40 words total. She is quiet, keeps strange hours, occasionally smells of paint. That is the entirety of what I know about her. She looked at me, and I saw something happen in her expression. Not surprise. The opposite of surprise. The specific way a face reorganizes itself when it sees something it is already prepared for. She said good morning. I said it back. She watched me walk to the elevator. I pressed the button and waited, and when I glanced back, she was still standing in the hallway. Not moving. Not getting her mail, just watching me with that careful, contained expression. The elevator doors opened. I got in, the doors closed. I stood there in the elevator going down and I thought, that's not how you look at a neighbor. That's how you look at something you thought you'd lost. The front desk called again at 2:30. Different voice, same question. My manager sent a calendar invite at 4:47 p.m. Unscheduled check-in the following morning. No agenda. The title said just a quick touch base. I made dinner. I ate it. I washed the dishes. I did all the normal things in sequence, in the right order, the way you do when you are trying to prove to yourself that you are a person who does normal things in sequence. At 11 p.m., I ran the public records search again. The report was gone. Not updated, not modified. Gone. The search returned nothing. 8 pages, my name, my photo, my scar, my car, deleted overnight. Scrubbed out of a database that I don't have access to and neither do you. Cleaned up by someone who decided I shouldn't be able to find it, or who realized I already had. The printout on my kitchen table was the only proof it had ever existed. I put my hand flat on it and sat there for a while in the yellow kitchen light. The check-in, 9 a.m., my manager's office. He looked at me before he spoke. I've thought a lot about how to describe that look. The closest I can get is a doctor who already knows your results and has decided how to hold their face while they tell you. He asked how I was doing. I said fine. He nodded slowly. Not agreement. The nod of someone receiving information they're going to have to work with. He asked if I was sleeping okay. Then he said he'd been concerned. He said he'd heard I'd been having some confusion. I asked him who said that. He looked at me for a long moment. You did, he said. Last week, you came to my office. You sat right there. He gestured at the chair across from him, the one I was sitting in, and you told me you were having trouble keeping track of days. You said things had been feeling strange. You seemed, a pause, careful, not quite yourself. I was not in his office last week. I have not left my apartment in 2 weeks. My location data shows my apartment, every single day in a continuous, unbroken line. My delivery history shows meals ordered to my door every day for 14 days. I was here. I was only here. I told him this. He looked at me. And this is the part I want you to really hear. He didn't argue. He didn't look skeptical. He looked at me with that same expression. The neighbor, the officer, the colleague under the breathing light. That same careful, contained, relieved expression. Like something he was glad was still moving. I drove home. I sat in my car in the garage for a long time, under the yellow light near the cracked pillar, engine off, hands in my lap. And I thought about what it actually means when everyone around you is managing your absence while looking directly at you. Not like you might go missing, like you already did. Like they each, privately at separate moments, processed it, grieved it a little, made their peace with it. And now, they are in the deeply uncomfortable position of running into you anyway, of having to recalibrate, of having to fit you back into a world that had already started closing the space you left. My manager described the conversation in detail, the chair I sat in, the way I kept glancing at the window specifically. A phrase I apparently used, and this is the part I need you to hear. He said I told him, I feel like I'm arriving somewhere I've already left. I have never said those words. I have never thought them. But I'm saying them now, alone in my car, in a parking garage. And I know with a clarity I don't have an explanation for, exactly what they mean. Not intellectually, physically. The way you know the feeling of a place before you can name it. Like a memory that doesn't belong to me. Like something installed. It's 1:17 a.m., March 13th. I'm recording this at my kitchen table with the light that's been going yellow for 3 days, and I keep not looking at it directly. The printout is in front of me. My coffee went cold an hour ago. I haven't moved to warm it up. Tomorrow is March 14th, the date on the report. Whatever happens tomorrow is bad enough that my sister, who is not an alarmist, who is the calmest person I know, who once drove herself to urgent care for a broken wrist because she didn't want to make a fuss, sits down and fills out 8 pages of official paperwork with my photo and my scar and the make and color of my car and submits it to a government database. She does that tomorrow. Something makes her do that tomorrow, and I don't know what it is. But here's the thought I have been trying not to finish for 4 days now. What if the question isn't whether I was in my manager's office? What if the question is whether what was there was me? I'm going to my sister's in the morning. I'm going to show up at her door before she opens that form. I'm going to ask her to describe me, physically, specifically, like she's describing me to someone who has never met me. Not to confirm she knows who I am, to find out how long she's been describing something slightly different and calling it me. Because I've been going back through the last few months in my head, really going back, trying to find the edges of things. And there are gaps I can't account for. Not blackouts, not dramatic, just moments that don't connect to the moments before them quite right. Conversations I should remember more clearly. Hours that feel borrowed. A week in November I've been calling quiet without being able to say what filled it. I've been giving the right answers, I know that. I can feel it. The way a right answer sits differently than a remembered one. The way I reach for things and they're already there, too quickly, with no friction. Real memory has friction. Real memory surfaces slowly and gets the small details wrong. Whatever is doing this doesn't get the small details wrong. Whatever is doing this, studied. I said I'd come back to the thing I told you at the start. Whether the person at this desk is the right one to be telling this story. Here's what I mean. I've been asking myself a question I don't want to answer. If something replaced me, not suddenly, not dramatically, but gradually, the way light changes in a room without you noticing until the shadows are in the wrong place, how would I know? If it had access to everything I know, everything I remember, everything I've ever said or written or done, if it woke up in my life and got the right answers and said the right things and slowly learned the texture of being me, would it feel like being me? Would it feel like this? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And the fact that I'm uncertain, the fact that the question feels like mine, but I can't prove the feeling is, that's the part that keeps me at this table at 1:17 in the morning with cold coffee and a printout that shouldn't exist. Before I go, think of someone. Someone who has seemed slightly off lately. Not alarmingly different, not dramatically changed, just slightly smoothed out. A little too consistent. Giving you the right answers just a fraction too quickly. No stumbling, no, wait, no, actually, none of the little failures that make a person real. Call them. Don't text. Call. Ask them something specific, not a fact, something with texture and weight. a memory that has a feeling attached to it, embarrassment or warmth or that specific tired happiness of a good moment that almost didn't happen. Something that requires them to actually go back and be there again to describe it. And listen. Listen to the time before the answer. That small gap where a real person has to locate themselves in the past, where memory surfaces, where it sometimes gets the small details wrong because it was there, imperfectly, the way real things are. If the answer comes immediately and perfectly, if there's no pause, if it sounds like something that was prepared rather than something that was found, the report is dated today. Something happens today that I don't know about yet, and I'm starting to believe the person who filed that report, whoever they are, whenever they actually are, wasn't trying to find me. I think they were trying to warn you. Not about me going missing, about what gets left behind when something does. Make the call. Right now, before you finish watching this. Before you lose another day being certain about someone you haven't actually checked on in a very long time.